Now, these fingerings work fine for circumstances right here. But if I wanted to get more precise placement with just a little bit more ease, or if I wanted to control fonts a little bit easier, where they naturally go a little bit easier, or in some instances, what I most use fingerings for, if I wanted to add like violin fingerings in, say, low second finger or something along those lines, then what I would want to do is to make my own set of fingerings. I'm going to show you how we can do that. This is a little bit more of an advanced topic. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take all of these fingerings, and let's make sure I don't get my fermata. Get rid of those, just so we don't have any of these fingerings in right now. We're going to kind of start from scratch. And I'm actually going to be using the expressions tool. And in the expressions tool, you've got a little bit more flexibility. And that's why I kind of like to make my own set of fingerings, again, more particularly for string fingerings. So I'm going to go here, first of all, and make my own new category. One of the things that I'd like to see in some future updates, they may have updated it in the most recent, but all it says here is edit categories. I'd love to have a create a category, but I'm going to go to one of these that most resembles what I'm likely to be using, which is this technique text. It goes, technique text goes above the staff, which is most of the time what I want for fingerings. And when I've got that technique text, it's got this basic font in there. So I'm going to edit categories. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to duplicate it. And for this, to make sure that I know what it is, I'm going to label it as fingerings. Now, what's great about this is I can now go through and I can edit the default for what any of these things will be. Right now it says justification left. I love to have my fingerings center justification. And it also says right now that it's going to align on the horizontal click position, which I want it to be the center of the primary note head. So just right smack dab in the middle of the primary note head there. And above the staff line, yeah, which above the staff line or baseline entry, that's about right. We'll come back to this in just a little bit and clean this up and fix it up for our purposes. But that looks pretty good. If I also wanted to, I could play around and I could say, oh, I want this to be a different font. Let's do Tahoma. Yeah, which I don't like Tahoma. It looks okay. Trebuchet, yeah, it looks decent, but really I'm just going to stick with Times New Roman for right now. You bold it, I get italicize it, etc. And again, this looks about right. I might make it just a little bit smaller. In fact, let's make it just a little bigger than that, but not quite 12. So it doesn't stand out too much. And so that is going to be now my default font for any of these fingering articulations, fingering expressions that I add. And everything looks pretty good. Yeah, so go ahead and click OK, and we now have a blank slate that we can work on here. So I'm going to go ahead and create some fingerings, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit 1 for first finger, duplicate that, and 2. I don't need to duplicate it necessarily, but that's just kind of what I'm used to doing. 3. In fact, this is kind of annoying because it has copy. And really, it's great to have these descriptions in. This helps if you're using XML also. So maybe, here we go, we'll go 1, 1, 1, and we'll create a fingering. I'll stop doing it the way I usually do. 4, and duplicate, and 5, excuse me. Still doing it the way I usually do it. Okay, so we've got these fingerings within our expression tool right here. Now, one of the disadvantages right now to using this is that we don't have the same flexibility as far as putting these articulations in. That I hit 5 and I click on the note and it puts that number in, which is really quick and really easy. But there is actually a great way around this. So if I go to Dynamics, we see meta tool for this is 1, 2, and so forth. And I can actually change these meta tools from where they're at to a different tool. So if I don't mind not using these meta tools for the dynamics, what I can do is I can say, Here we go on number 1 right here. I'm going to hit Shift 1, and we've now assigned the meta tool to number 1, meta tool to number 2, number 3, 4, and 5. There we go. And meta tools are now available for all of those. And so there we go. We've got that in here. And if I were to click on 5, there we go, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That all of those are now operating pretty similar to what we had with this, with the added benefit that I now have a little bit more flexibility. I can move these around a little bit more. Now, when I put that there, if you'll notice, it's a little bit high above the note, which I don't really like that is quite as high as it is. And so what I can do is I can take this and I'm going to edit my category. Okay, so let me try this. It says right now negative 0.05-ish. So I'm going to try negative 0.1. So that should pull it down just a little bit. Let's try it a little bit further. Okay, let's say 0.2. There we go. It's pretty close there now, which to give it just a little bit more room, I'm going to take it, let's say 1.7. Yeah, that gives it a little bit more room so it's not too close. And the default position now for each of these, when I did it through the categories there, is going to be about that same level right there. So that'll be great. It'll be close to the note, but not too close. And so we'll be able to read it. And the added flexibility then, again, we can move that in. Where did it go? Hold on. Move that, there we go, right next to it, and pretty much anywhere that I need here, with the added benefit in this instance of having this something that I could, as a violinist, that I can take now. I can edit this and say, I really want that to say low something rather, or extended, or somewhere around there, something like that. If you had frequently too a set of fingerings that happen quite a lot, you could even take one of these right here and say, in this instance, I'm going to duplicate this one. And I'm going to make this 5, 5, 3. It's a fingering, maybe I see quite a bit. And I'm going to go like that. And now this will sit as a 5 and a 3 above the note. There we go. Get it back to its regular position. There we go. Yeah. And if that's a fingering that happens quite frequently, I might want to make my own custom thing that just has it sitting like that. In addition to doing that, I could also say, well, this is going to be always sitting next to the note. I can then take, instead of adding through the category, I'm going to take and I'm just going to edit this right here, the positioning. And I'm not going to use the fingerings category positioning. I'm going to change this. So I'm going to still keep center, but vertical alignment, let's change that in a second. Center of primary note head, left of all note heads is what we're going to do. And so that it's actually going to set it right next to these note heads. And let's make this then the staff reference line. Let's make it the top note. And so this will sit right next to the note, and it's going to ask us this, are you sure that you want to do this, because it won't be the same as the other. And we're going to say yes, so we can see how this looks, which, yeah, as I look at this, that's going to be a little bit too close. So I'm going to go now positioning, and it still is left of all the note heads, but let's add, just 0.2. Let's see what that does. It's about, and it's at the top of the note. To me, that looks, again, a little bit too much. Let's try just 0 and see about what that is. And yes, we're okay with that. Assign it. Bing. Oops. And that's not the direction we want to go. So let's take our positioning, and instead of that, that's right, because plus is going to be to the right or up, and negative is going to be to the left or down. So let's do left, negative 0.2, and up and down. It's not bad, but let's do like 0.125. Let's see how that looks, and assign it. Ooh, which not too bad again. A little bit, so a little too low and a little bit too far left. And So let's say now 0.2 is too much. I'm just going to guess as in, let's say 1. Yeah, just straight 1. And this was a little too high. If I do this now, 0.75. Let's just see. Yes, again, assign. And actually, yeah, that looks pretty good. So that if I had 2 notes here, then the top one would be a little bit low, but the bottom one about right. And this would be useful for something like, say, this right here. We've got 2 notes. And again, it's a fingering that you see quite frequently. And I could keep playing with this, but the advantage would then be that anytime I have this set of fingering, either here or something similar, a third down here, then it's going to sit in that same spot. And so I've made this one expression that can then be placed in different places like that. And once again, if I really was going to be using it quite frequently, I could assign a meta tool to it. I could say fingering, 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 just go through it really quickly. One other quick thing I wanted to show you is a quick way to add things in some instances. The default is the page view for this right here. And sometimes if I'm working on something and I want to work a little bit quicker with ignoring some of these page details, what I'll do is I'll take and instead of going on the page view, I'll actually go to scroll view. And this can be really handy in trying to just, go through quickly and add stuff through a piece that I'm not being concerned quite as much with all of the little detail stuff as far as the big picture goes, the page goes, and I can just add, and it doesn't look quite as the same as you can see as our page view. But then when I've gotten all these notes in and all the details, then I can go back from scroll view to my page view right here. That's all the time we've got for this video, and we'll see you in our next one.